Guys, a very interesting video has just come to light. This post is from Kyle Becker. I believe it was originally shared by Colin Rugg. Of course, this is not verified. I can't verify it. I have no idea if any of this is true, but allegedly, this guy Vincent Talmarine Tormina. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm doing the best I can. It looks like Taormina, Vincent Taormina. That's how I'm going to say it through the video because that's how I assumed it's pronounced. You're probably going to see my dog. It's storming. This is one of our dogs. It's storming outside and she gets very scared, so she's going to be climbing on me a little bit. Her name is Lucy and she's a tiny sausage. But anyway, this post just in. Thomas Crooks' classmate throws a wet blanket on speculation the shooter was a Trump supporter. He said Crooks once asked him why he didn't hate Trump since he was Hispanic. The FBI insists it does not know Crooks' motive for shooting Trump. Now, that sounds like leftist rhetoric. And you can say that Thomas Crooks was a registered Republican, but don't forget that Democrats were registering Republican in the primaries to vote for Nikki Haley. Let's not forget that. And it's also known that he donated to Act Blue, a Democratic cause. So let's not get it twisted. This guy was no Trump supporter, and he was no Republican, and certainly not a conservative. But let's hear what Vincent has to say about Thomas.
Thomas was a quiet kid unless there was something that he was passionate about, politics being one of them. He just did not like politicians.
Okay, and there we go. In the very first sentence, he says he actively hated politicians. Let's continue.
Especially with the choices that we've had, he did not like our politicians. It was especially during 2016. It was Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, all of them.
Okay, let's that raises a question right there. That raises a question. This is 2024 and Thomas is 20 years old. In 2016, that was 7 years ago, roughly. That would have put Thomas at like 13 years old talking about hating politicians. Okay, now that's a little bit sus. I mean, yes, there are politically active teenagers. That's certainly true. Personally, when I was 13 years old, I was doing kick flips and going to the skate park and hanging out with my buds. So, politics was never a thing. Like, we did grow up around 9/11 for sure. And I was like 10 years old when 9/11 happened. But even then, it was years and years and years later that I understood what was going on with Bush and Obama. So, like, who knows?
He showed that he disliked all of them.
Disliked
Did
all
not
of
like
them.
any of them.
Did not like
So
any of them.
I brought up the fact that I'm Hispanic and I'm for Trump, and he said, "Well, you're Hispanic, so shouldn't you hate Trump?" And I was like, "No, he's great."
There we go. There we go. That's leftist rhetoric. If you are in a minority group, and I don't even like saying minority group because that's really just not a thing anymore. If you're Hispanic, you cannot like Trump. If you're black, you cannot like Trump. That is absurd. There are tons of black and Hispanic people that love Trump. Okay, that's absolutely ridiculous. There are many Hispanic individuals, some of which I know personally, are very supportive of Trump's immigration policies. So, that's just the racist leftist rhetoric.
I mean, like, he's a great president. And he called me stupid,
Called
or
him
insinuated
stupid
that. I
for
was
it.
like, he's like, well, that's kind of.
Now, I'm sorry to keep pausing, but like this is a commentary video. We are observing this in real time. I'm commentating on it. I'm telling you how I feel about it. I felt this in 2016 when Trump was running for the first time. I was working in the entertainment industry. It's a very liberal industry, but being in the South, there were a lot of more conservative leaning individuals that I would work with, but mostly they were very, very liberal left leaning. And I know that ridicule personally, and I feel vindicated that everything they've said has been wrong, and everything that I have said so far has been right. And that's not to toot my own horn. I'm just saying Trump was the best president of my lifetime, and I saw that coming a mile away.
Stupid. If he was a know-it-all. So like once again, if he was passionate about something, he would just talk, and acted like he knew everything, especially politics related. And he would say it in a tone that was like, I'm better than you, in a type of way.
Condescending.
And meanwhile, it's like, dude, we're in the same classes. You know what I mean? We're talking about the same stuff here. And whenever it comes to politics, I mean, at the end of the day, I can agree, you can disagree, I can disagree. We're not even about to vote it at. Like, at that point, it doesn't matter. At that point, it's, we're just starting to figure out who we like and all. But yeah, he was
you
real,
would have been like 12, 13 years
smug,
old, 14
arrogant
at
whenever
the
he was talking. And whether that was his way to try to make friends or be funny, I don't know. But it got under my skin a lot. So his friend group, they were known for being, like I said, like just out there, a little bit more recluse. Some of them didn't even show up to school. Some of them went homeschool. Some of them, I think one of them went to like a private school. They were definitely the type, and they did make threats to shoot up our school.
There you go. There you go. This guy that allegedly went to school with Thomas Crooks said that he would have made threats to unalive fellow classmates. I'm trying to be careful and skirt around this because like I want to play within the rules of YouTube and the internet at large. But you heard what he just said.
And that year, I believe it was our freshman year, because I had left our freshman year. Before I left,
freshman year, you would have been like 12, 13 years old.
Everyone going through Snapchat, everybody's texting, everybody, saying this, that, and the third. Everybody was saying it was Thomas who made a threat, and it was that friend group. Everyone was mainly blaming the friend group, but a name that kept coming up was Thomas. And he never did anything, you know what I mean? He left school for a couple of days. It wasn't anything like a suspension or anything. It was just a couple of days, he was not severely bullied.
Okay, let's talk about that. He wasn't a loner. He had a friend group, and the friend group sold him out when threats were being made against the school. That is a tremendous red flag. Somebody should have noticed that. Somebody should have said something about that. And it seems like this school completely dropped the ball. I haven't watched the rest of this video, but I'm going to say, like, weren't this kid's parents like counselors? Weren't they mental health professionals? Like, wouldn't they have known something about this?
Almost nobody knew. So, for somebody who got severely bullied, I'm not going to name names, but I could name you a few students that were severely bullied, and I remember their names. He's not one of them.
He was not bullied. I don't really know what the narrative is behind him being bullied. I'm trying to keep up with this. Everything's developing minute by minute, second by second. But, obviously, whenever you think about somebody committing a heinous act like this, you assume that, maybe they were a loner, maybe they were bullied. That doesn't seem to be the case here.
The signs were there, and somebody definitely had to know. Somebody, whether he was talking to somebody or somebody either just didn't realize and just overlooked it, somebody should have known, because he was not a loner. And both of his parents being counselors, how do you not see that warning sign?
That's what I just said. If his parents were counselors and everybody around this kid knew that he was potentially dangerous, why did nobody do something? Why did nobody say anything? Why did they just let him do whatever he wanted, apparently?
Anybody who knew him should have seen something, should have known something was up. And I know it's kind of easy to hide, but people are going to get their affairs in order before they do something this bold and this drastic. And nobody saw it, and why?
That's a very, very good point to end on right there. Pretty much, as far as I know, anytime there has been a heinous act such as this, there has been a manifesto, there has been, something that these people wanted to leave behind as a sort of legacy. Like with Columbine, we had the basement tapes. We have all of the flyers that Lee Harvey Oswald was passing out. We have the Tennessee manifesto. Like none none of these people do this just for the sake of doing it. There's usually a point behind it. There's usually a reason for doing it, and they want that reason to be known. Like the Unabomber. Like, come on, like every single person that commits an act of terrorism like this wants to leave something behind. And this kid left nothing behind. Like, you got to be kidding me. His phone is empty? Come on. That building was occupied on the inside but not secured? Come on. He was carrying a 12-foot ladder and a rifle through a Trump rally? Come on. He was spotted 3 hours earlier with a rangefinder? Come on. The roof of the building was too sloped to have an agent up there, but today there's an FBI agent up there with a pressure washer? Come on. None of this makes sense. I don't know what I believe. This is one of the weirdest things I have ever seen. Like this doesn't make sense. Usually when something like this happens, you can see something that makes sense. The Unabomber wasn't into technology. He thought the world was going off the rails. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Columbine, these kids were like hardcore atheists in a conservative town and they were getting picked on and bullied. Okay, that kind of makes sense. This doesn't make sense. This kid was allowed to make these threats. He was allowed to own rifles, you can own as many rifles as you want. You can have all the guns you want. I don't care. But whenever you go around making threats about your school, then, maybe we ought to step in and be like, hey man, maybe you should put these in a secure location and let's figure out what's going on with you right now. Not necessarily a red flag law or anything like that, but like just his community, his friend group, the people that heard him talking about this stuff, his parents who were allegedly counselors, somebody should have said, hey man, you've been talking some weird stuff. I don't think you need a rifle right now, man. Why don't we put that on hold? Why don't we put that on layaway? And we'll come back to that after we figure out what's going on with you, man. But this reeks. Of, I don't want to say inside job, but it really seems like an inside job. And more than anything, it seems like this was allowed to happen. And furthermore, not only was it allowed to happen, somebody must have gotten this kid's ear and said, hey, you should do this. Who was that? Who told this kid he should do this? Did he come up with it on his own? I mean, maybe. Was it a poorly thought out plan? It clearly seems like it. And what's going on with that water tower? The water tower wasn't secure. That had a line of sight on Trump as well. The Pac-Man formation, where they have a whole chunk of their perimeter cut out. This is insane. I'm grateful Trump is alive. I'm grateful that the party is coming together around him. I am grateful that we are on the best timeline right now. I'll catch you next time.